We hope to get one of the docks open pretty soon, but they haven't really given a timeline on exactly when, only due to the fact that, we still have bodies that are there in the water that we need to bring to shore so that these families can have some closure.
In Baltimore tonight, the bodies of 2 of 6 people believed to have been killed in the Francis Scott Key bridge collapse in Baltimore have been recovered from the water. This happens after the container ship collided with the interstate bridge, causing it to collapse into the water. Earlier, Coast Guard Rear Admiral Shannon Gilraith gave this update.
Based on the length of time that we've gone in this search, the extensive search efforts that we've put into it, the water temperature, that at this point we do not believe that we're going to find any of these individuals still alive. And so this evening at about 7:30, we are going to suspend the active search and rescue efforts. Coast Guard's not going away. None of our partners are going away, but we're just going to transition to a different phase.
Well, the US Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, gave a briefing on what the federal government is doing.
While the investigation and the response continue, President Biden has made clear that this whole administration will be providing support in every respect for the recovery and the rebuilding process. From a Department of Transportation perspective, that really comes down to 4 major focus areas. Reopen the port, deal with the supply chain implications until the port does reopen, rebuild the bridge, and deal with the surface transportation implications until the bridge is rebuilt.
Well, let's speak to Councilman Antonio Glover, who's a Baltimore councillor and community advocate and has been at the bridge site all day. Good evening to you, Antonio.
Good evening.
What can you tell us about what is happening at the site of that collapsed bridge now?
What I can say is that, rescue workers and local, state, and federal partners have come together to recover 2 of the bodies that were in the water. They're going to continue to proceed to get the rest of the bodies that they believe that are still in the water, but they believe that those bodies are under some rubble, debris, things of that nature, to super stretcher.
So the efforts to recover the remaining bodies are continuing, are they?
Absolutely. Yes, we're going to continue to bring those bodies to shore.
Many people who saw the dramatic pictures of the way that huge bridge just collapsed when it was hit will have been really quite shocked at how quickly it went down. What can you tell us about the investigation into why it did collapse so suddenly?
Well, it's an ongoing, investigation. I don't want to speak too much in advance, but I do want to allow the local, state, and federal authorities to continue to do their investigation so that we can know exactly what we need to say when it comes to reaching out to our constituents.
But is that investigation focused on the structure of the bridge or on whether there were sufficient warnings or safeguards in place to stop shipping from hitting the structure?
That investigation is based on the totality of everything. The reason, why the vessel lost its power, the reason, those workers were on the bridge, even that time of the night. The reason, why the bridge even fell to that magnitude. So there's like a holistic investigation reference to every part that had played in this tragedy.
It's also having a big effect on the local economy, isn't it? Because, of course, the port there is a huge port and a very important a location for bringing goods in and out of that whole area of the United States. I mean, is any shipping able to get in and out of Baltimore?
Yeah. Well, From having conversations, we're losing approximately about $15 million per day. As the governor had mentioned, over, I think it's 80 billion yearly. So it is a great, defeat when it comes to local workers here in the state of Maryland, which we employ over 8,000 workers there at the port.
But is the port back and functioning then?
No, the port isn't back functioning at this moment.
And what is the thinking about how soon that port could be reopened?
There's not really a timeline because they're still doing the investigation. We hope to get one of the docks open pretty soon, but they haven't really given a timeline on exactly when, only due to the fact that, we still have bodies that are there in the water that we need to bring to shore so that these families can have some closure.
Yeah, of course, that has to be the priority for the authorities there. But the collapsed bridge, presumably, is blocking access to the port entirely, is it?
Yes.
And what about... Sorry, carry on.
I would say, yes, a great dealing of it, yes.
And what about the problem of the other links? Because that bridge, not only was it an absolutely central part of Baltimore City's skyline, but it was a vital link, wasn't it, in terms of transport connections to the whole area?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there was transported between 30 to 35,000, motorists a day that would travel that bridge, including myself on the weekends. That was my way from traveling from Baltimore City through Baltimore County, which is Dundalk, over to Anne Arundel County. So there was a great loss. I know that when I went to go visit the bridge, the collapsing of the bridge, by me not taking or able to take the bridge over, it took me roughly close to 40 minutes, the detour to go over to the opposite side of the bridge just to view what I've seen, and that was the bridge that had collapsed. And the, responders, the first team of defense responders that were there, it was really, really a traumatic, scene, and it was something that I would say that I would only be able to see, like, maybe in a movie.
And what can you tell us about how people locally are feeling about what's been happening here? Because, of course, it's tragic to have the loss of those 6 construction workers. But presumably, if this accident had happened not in the early hours of the morning, but at a busy time of the day, the loss of life could have been much greater.
You're right. It would have been much greater. But you know what? I want to say this, that I want to also give kudos to the who drove the vessel, the captain who drove the vessel, and for him to come up with the mayday. Had he not done that, there would have been motorists on that bridge that also would have been part of the collapse. So I want to give kudos to him just for putting that mayday out in advance. But I want to say that the local community here in Baltimore, they're showing an outpouring love to the community. Like Baltimore, we're a community full of resiliency. We're strong. This is just one of the many challenges that we've had here in the city. But as we come together when it comes to crisis things of the nature, Baltimore is at its best when it comes to crisis such as this here. So the community has been very, very supportive. Our first responders who have worked tirelessly since this all began. It's just a community effort. It's just a state, local jurisdiction effort where, when I say family, our next door neighbors like Baltimore County would be our cousins, and We have our uncle that is over in Arundel County. It's just showing how family come together when it comes to tragedy such as this.
Well, that's certainly one positive note from this tragedy. But just to clarify the point you were making then, it was the Mayday signal that was put out by the ship's captain. And what did that enable the authorities to prevent traffic from going onto the bridge?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for explaining all of that and for bringing us up to date with what's going on there in Baltimore tonight. Councilman Antonio Glover, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.